Hi, I want to welcome everyone to Game Day Travel Podcast. It is a podcast like you've never seen. It's a different podcast. Uh, it's where three baseball officials, but more importantly, three people who are deeply engaged into the world of sports on all levels. This podcast was a dream of mine and a brother that is a pastor who is now on the eastern coast of North Carolina, Luke Brakefield. We talked about starting a podcast called Game Day Travel to feed the whole official. And as you know, in my life, God always has a timing and the right people in the right place. And so now here we are, Game Day Travel, first day, first episode. And let's talk about what we do on Game Day Travel, who we are, and what we do and what we won't do. Game Day Travel Cast is a place where we're going to be respectful of the game. It's participants, the officials, and the administrators. It is not a got you podcast. That's not what we do here. It's a place for personal growth, education, and encouragement. And the only time we'll mention names will be to give credit to the people who really stood out to us, who really assisted us, and to give credit to the people who helped us get to where we were in the sport, and to those who opened doors and modeled excellence. We will never discuss official schedules, nor their mistakes. Our goal is simple. We want to focus on the whole official, the mind, the body, the spirit, so that each of us can serve the game with, and one another, more importantly, one another with integrity and respect. That's Game Day Travelcast, and we hope that you get to know Dave Brown, Caleb Groom, and Chris Daniels deeply, that we get to share some insight that will help to open your life. Now, we all three are in different places in life. I'm retired. Uh, Caleb and Chris both know me. Uh, I know both of them. Uh, Caleb doesn't know Chris personally. He's met Chris. He's seen Chris at some of our camp leadership sessions. Chris doesn't know Caleb, so they're getting to know each other real time as we embark upon this blessed podcast, Game Day Travelcast. So here we are. I want you to meet Caleb, and I want you to meet Chris as we open this first segment up. Chris Daniels, who are you?
Blessed opportunity to have a beautiful college career in officiating. I have not been on the field since 2005, but yet still actively involved in development and helping in the world of officiating. It's blessed to be in several different Division I conferences. I'm the only official, we say, in the SEC who got who got an opportunity to get hired by the SEC, who never called a single game on the field as an SEC official. Because of career decisions, I was blessed to get a promotion that led to some bigger things off the field. Postseason experience, got a chance to call NCAA regionals, which was true blessing. Retired military, retired federal service. I am the owner and creator of the Spiritual Locker Room. Just a really beautiful life, beautiful family, friends, and it's a blessing to be a part of this.
Chris is a very modest person, so we'll get a little deeper into he. It's what I love about him. That's why I'm so glad he's part of this podcast. His brother is a leader, leadership extraordinaire, and we'll get into who he is and what God has blessed him to do in his life. But then we meet this guy named Caleb Groom. Caleb, talk to us a little bit about who you are in your life and your family.
I live in North Carolina. My background is in software development. I am mostly retired these days. And although it doesn't really feel like it, I spend quite a bit of time working on things related to baseball umpiring. I've kind of carved out a little bit of a niche video around umpiring. I'm a lifelong learner. If I'm not learning something, I'm really not interested in it, and I think that's why like baseball umpiring is so compelling. Like it's always evolving, always getting better, and so I spend a lot of time, watching baseball games and trying to put together video for our umpiring crews. I'm still active on the field, trying to pursue getting better each week. Just finished up 9-inning scrimmage a few days ago. So looking forward to the season starting, and pretty excited about having a podcast that's built for someone like me that's traveling to a game. Could use that pregame pep talk or pregame word of wisdom before we go into the Lions Den.
Yeah. So, one good story with Caleb when he first started umpiring, I ran into him in a camp and I asked him, I said, how's a 45-year-old man retired? He said, well, I did okay. I was blessed in my life and I didn't spend a lot of money, Dave. So we'll be getting into some financial things too on this podcast. And it allows you time to do other things in life. And with Pastor Daniels, we're in the spiritual locker room. He is the owner. It's a place where we rest every morning for 2.5 hours with men all across this nation, growing spiritually. So I'm glad to be here with these two brothers. And, it's time now to get into what Game Day podcast is about. We talk about the issues of officiating. And have you ever been that official who was the perfect official? Your schedule just didn't match up with your talent. That's the topic for today. We're going to get into why the skill set and the character maybe, or why the skill set and the schedule just does not match up. What do you say, Chris Daniel?
The official who gets all the calls right, who nails it behind the plate, but the schedule doesn't match. Can't get in D1, or I'm in D1 and I'm getting a few games. Let's dig into that. And being around college baseball, going through the process myself, having friends who's went through the process, having friends who are currently going through the process, taking a deep dive and the peeling back the onion, let's be honest, with the true issues that we see. Some of it could be supervisors just need to be raw and honest with officials or what the issues they see with them. A lot of times that doesn't happen. But I would say this, 100% of the time we must look in the mirror individually. Don't blame coaches. Don't blame supervisors. Look at yourself individually. Because the only thing can change you is you. And that's where we're going to get into today. Is, are we really looking at ourselves deeply and having the tough, honest conversations with ourselves?
Caleb, from an umpiring standpoint, today's umpires, you're out there in the middle of the game. What aspect of what Chris just said kind of strikes you as being boots on the ground?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that your schedule is put together by a human who's trying to evaluate another human, and there's probably going to be a mismatch in expectations. I think a lot of times umpires think that there is a very solid system has performed an exact evaluation of you, and then decided based on that evaluation that this is the schedule that you receive. And it's probably, I mean, Dave, you can, as an assigner, you can obviously speak to this. There's a combination of what your current level is, but also how well that's known. How well does an assigner know you? How many opportunities have you been given so that people that you've worked with can give feedback? I mean, I just think there's probably a mismatch versus where you are versus the opportunity that you're given. And that as you get better, so I'm kind of a math nerd. And so I kind of think about your progress. So, if your progress is linear up and to the right, there's probably not, a matching or a parallel line of your schedule, right? That those two lines are going to be, out of sync over time. And so, I feel like patience is definitely like a big part of that, because it's probably going to be some catch up time before, if you get a lot better, there's probably some catch up time before everyone else realizes that you got a lot better, that you made some investments, through the camp process or through the through the off season, either like physically getting better, or better in the rule book, or leading on the field in a better way. So man, I feel like patience is definitely like gonna be a big part of that discussion.
I think you spoke to the dichotomy of being an official, uh, and dealing with supervisors, and so there's a couple insights that I think you and Pastor Chris brought up that I'd like to touch. Um, there is a lag a lot of times between an umpire or an official, and we're talking specific umpires today, but this is I've supervised basketball officials, football officials. That I don't think it changes when the sport changes. There is a lag between your personal perception of your growth as well, and what everybody else sees and perceives. Uh, so I think what you're speaking to, Caleb, and I've watched you do it, is the dedication that you have to keeping your nose to the grind, and understand that you are growing, and that will be rewarded. But the lag time, I'm just so glad that you mentioned the lag time. We can't see all, we can't know all. And remember this, a supervisor can't be in 150 places at the same time. So whatever, if he's got observers or he's watching film or getting coach feedback, it's all coming to him through a filter. So, and we're going to talk about some of the other things that you may be doing as an official. Even though you're getting better on the field, other people are seeing other things. And so when it comes back to a supervisor, it has nothing to do with your talent, which I think is a good segue to talk about those things, Pastor Daniels. When you talk about the things that hold officials back, it's not his ball strike safe outs. Sometimes it's how he looks when he comes to the field. Sometimes it's what people see him doing off the field that get ingrained and etched in people's minds, and that's the feedback the supervisor's hearing as well. So then it becomes a big potato pie that you have to you, you have to try and cook and make it taste good. So talk to us about that a little bit.
We probably see our highlight reel. When we think about our abilities, we probably see our highlight reel, and we don't necessarily see, all the full 360 view of who we are as a partner, who we are as someone who's serving the game, someone who's interacting with these coaches. I've always enjoyed the quote that we never see things how they are; we see things as how we are. And so I think it's probably a survival mechanism that our biases keep us alive, by giving us some blind spots from time to time. I really think that there's not a good mechanism today to get feedback really from from your peers who are seeing those things. It really takes someone who's extremely invested in you to give you direct feedback. Like, hey, I wish when you showed up and had that first interaction with that coach, I wish you would have done that differently. That game management situation, you had the correct answer. Man, I wish you would have approached it differently. I wish you would have listened a little bit more.
Well, then let's get into
Yep.
why that feedback is not being offered today, and when it is, why we're not accepting it correctly. So that I think that begs of the bigger picture. Chris, you agree with that?
I totally agree with it. And so, to speak to the heart of that, let's just get to it, Dave. This thing is really about relationships. Not this. Relationships. Ask yourself this question, officials. When you walk off the field and you're done with baseball, what is a relationship? Relationships have you established. Let's get to it. Are you really here? Many of us come to this platform of officiating and we're here to take. We're here for the schedule, we're here for the games, we're here for the money. But we're not here for the relationship. So the minute I get done with baseball, I'm done with this community of officials. I know too many officials who have walked away from the game and don't have any relationships. So let's start with relationships. Because with a relationship, I'm open to being taught and feedback. If you talk about relationships, I have not been on the field since 2005, but yet Dave Brown is still here with me, and many more. I am so blessed to establish relationships that I still have today that I had 20 years ago of being off the field. So it's hard to give feedback to someone who's not even invested. I know, and you know, Caleb, that many times if I'm here in this locker room just for the game, just for the money, do I really care about your feedback?
Yeah.
Crew chiefs can sense this. I can give you feedback and it'll go in one ear and out the other. I can give you feedback and it's like literally pouring water on a concrete ground out there. So why waste your time when we all have been in this locker room, each one of us, and we all know. But we also know that closely knitted crews that we all come together. Those are the easiest feedback sessions that you ever have, because I have a relationship with Dave Brown, and any day Dave Brown can say, "Hey Chris, thought you really struggled behind the plate last night. Head movement." Or here's another one. "I thought you had an excellent game. However, I didn't like your demeanor on the field." Now, I want to pinpoint that because that's an actual conversation Dave Brown had with me in a post-tournament game.
2002 and MEAC tournament.
Yes.
Daytona Beach, Florida. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Let that sink in.
Yep.
I
didn't know Chris from Adam.
He did.
That question. Yeah.
Now, when I'm talking about relationships, here it is, I just met Dave Brown, but I wanted to know Dave Brown. And I wanted Dave Brown's opinion raw, because I want to know him. And so when I asked him, give me some feedback, "No, you did fine." That's what he told me. It's talking to what you're talking about, Caleb. "Oh, you did fine, good." Yeah. No. Give it to me.
And see, I answer that because I'm used to, man, these guys just asking just to think it's polite. "Oh, you did fine." He ain't gonna listen. That's my thought process. I don't know him. I'm gonna give him something, make him happy, and here we go. That's the way it happened.
I started this conversation with 100% it's on us. No one else, it's on me. And am I open to truly feedback about me? But go ahead, Caleb.
I was just going to say, you really have to know that someone, like before the game begins, you really need to know or have some sort of belief that they're really bought in and they want to get better. If you come into this game and I think, man, I don't know this guy, but I know the reputation is not solid. If you spend the time in the locker room complaining about somebody else or talking bad about somebody else, and then after the game you say, "So how'd it go? What'd you think? What do you got for me?" Man, I'm probably not saying anything because I'll just be the next person that gets talked about in the locker room. So much of it is like, will I invest the time in you to give you feedback? I probably have to believe that it will be received in a way that's honest, and that I'm just not the next person that you'll complain about. Again, that's got nothing to do with the game that just happened, right? It was all like what I believed to be true about you before the game began. And, my belief or my understanding of like who you are, it started months ago. It started from someone else who said, "I worked a game with this guy and man, I don't know. Like all I did was complain." Or, I I don't see him working as hard as I'm working. So I don't know. I don't know that I want to invest the time in this person, to be honest, because like if you're really honest, and I think was Dave's point. It takes a lot to be honest with someone. It's a big investment. We don't just like roll out spewing like our absolute honest thoughts. Like hopefully like we've learned to have a filter on these things, right? And so it takes effort on my part to drop the filter, to say, okay, I'm going to give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you raw here because I think you're going to do something with it. And I'm not going through that effort if I don't believe that you care, that you want to get better, and that you will, try to understand what I'm saying, rather than just, adding me to your list of people that, you'll talk about in the next locker room.
So you guys done open a can here, and we're gonna get back to it. But then if you're listening to this is what we're gonna get into each week. And if this helps you on your drive, just hit follow us, watch us wherever you get your podcast, plus YouTube and Facebook. This is the place each week we're gonna talk about these things, because what I just heard Caleb and Chris talk about is the culture of officiating. Now, I've been a supervisor on many levels for many years. I've been an official on many levels for many years in many locker rooms. And so this podcast is for travel ball officials, high school officials, and college officials, professional officials. So let's talk about that culture. And as I mentioned, when we opened this first episode of Game Day Travelcast, we mention people. We're only going to mention them to give them credit. Now, I know Pastor Chris and I, Tony Thompson, we owe a lot of credit to Tony for getting us started.
A lot of credit.
Because he had a culture set, and I don't think people were really aware of, that he was not. And Caleb, you can speak to this. This is one of the things that I picked up from Tony, is you try to put officials in a situation where they can succeed with people they can succeed with. So you have to read personalities well. Tony was very good at that. And Chris, you can speak to that in a second. But Caleb, what you mentioned about the culture. So there was a good and a bad to that culture. At some point, if you're not the right leader, even though you're going to make sure the crew stays on track, if you're not the right leader, it becomes a let's kiss the king. Let's make sure we take care of the crew chief. Let's carry his bags and all that's good fun and stuff. But I don't know if that's true leadership. Matter of fact, it's that can be debated. But the fact that Tony always gave us an opportunity to put us with someone who would give us the right feedback, who would make sure that we were covered in tough situations, that culture has died a little. If people show up in locker rooms now and you're on your own, you make a mistake, you can eat it. As long as I'm clean, I'm clean. So we need to talk about that culture a little bit. That footprint that Tony set. Officials are all doing their own things now, and it's that culture of, if I'm the crew chief, I'm here for a reason. I'm here to make sure the crew succeeds. And, you may have to take the most inexperienced guy on the crew and put your arm around him in situations. I don't see enough of that happening, because, Caleb, you talked about the culture of when it starts. It doesn't start just when you get your schedule and you meet a guy. Started doing training, observation, coming into meetings, going to rules clinics and knowing the rule, people observing all of that. So speak to that a little bit as we close out episode 1 of Game Day Travelcast.
So your reputation is created daily. And especially now, where, the advent of the internet and being connected over video, especially, you're seeing people that you work with more often. You're seeing them on Zoom. You're seeing it in various camps around the country. From summer leagues and stuff that you work in the during the season and in the off season. Your reputation is just getting like built day by day by day. And I think the great part of that is if you're a good person, like you can't hide that, and people are seeing it and they go like, wow, that's somebody I want to work with. Like I see that person is like really, really grinding away. I see that they're really engaged in this meeting. They're really engaged in this camp. And so your reputation is just building. There are a number of people that I've met in the fall that when I look at my schedule for the spring, I'm disappointed that I'm not working with, a whole list of people. And I wish there were more days available because I'd love to say, man, can you find a situation where, you can put me with these two people because I really like what they're doing, right? Like I don't know what level they're at, but I like what they're doing, and I'd like a chance for the three of us to be on the field together. Life advice that I'm like giving to my son right now, right, is you're building this reputation day by day by day, and the things that you think that people don't see and that probably don't you think doesn't matter, um, but there's more off season than there is regular season, and we're more connected than ever. You just keep building this reputation.
Caleb just talked about the new culture. Chris, talk about the old culture that molded us into who we're trying to be today, leading men on and off the field.
First and foremost, I want to give so much thanks to Tony Thompson, Adonis Hill, the Owen Butts out there, was pivotal in giving Chris Daniels feedback. So let's start with old school. We are horrible administrators. You can be the best official on the field, but if you're not reading your emails, responding timely, that's that feedback Chris Daniels got. Accepting schedules in a timely manner. You've judged before we've got a D on our paper before we even hit the field. These are the things that old school, that Tony and those supervisors was dogmatic about to make sure I understood what the expectations were. Administratively, we had to be excellent before we even got on the field. That's where we're suffering now. No one's giving us feedback. Where supervisors, officials are not setting the schedule in a timely manner, they're not responding to emails in a timely manner, and yet you're harshly judged because of it, because nobody's giving that feedback. Let's talk about arriving to the field. What's the expectation of arriving to the field? Especially as a rookie, it's going to always be the first guy to get there. But as a rookie, and I know many of us, it's part-time jobs, but you cannot, as we say, turn into the parking lot on two wheels in a four-wheel vehicle, if you understand what I'm saying to you. You can't do it. The feedback that Tony put us in that position to give the raw feedback, right? How to show up, their attire. What do I look like? Do I look like an official? When I show up, before I even go on the field, you represent the organization once you drive on campus. It's what it is. And so, in a timely manner, how we carry ourselves, conduct ourselves, and getting that raw feedback of the interaction with coaches, active players, responsibility, positioning on the field, rotations. You got to be more alert, more assertive. You got to be able to also communicate with the crew. Things happen on the field. We have to make adjustments. If you just worried about your area, these are feedbacks that I got. I don't know about nobody else. I'm giving true examples of me. Even though the book may say this is the situation, things change on the field. And so now if my crew makes an adjustment and they're giving me, hey, adjust with us, and I just stay there like a bump on the wall, not going to work. It's being able to work with the team and adjust, but getting that feedback, because when I first got on the field, I'm looking at my little rule book. Oh yeah, mechanics. In this situation, I'll rotate here. That's it. And that's all I'm worried about. That was my mindset initially. Until what happens when someone else make a mistake and a rotation doesn't happen? How do we handle that?
Yeah.
You have to be able to communicate with your crew. That's something I had to learn to do. How you do that? Feedback. But I'm going to argue that my crew chief is wrong because I handle. No, it's the adjustments. And we wonder why we're perfect, but our schedules don't match. Dave, I thank you for bringing that up because I really took advantage of the culture that Tony set in doing college baseball in the 90s and early 2000s that blessed me years beyond off that field. Years beyond off that field. He has no idea, and I wish I can, if he listened to this podcast, I can't thank him enough.
Yeah. And I'm in agreement with that. And I have to mention John Fuzzy Floyd, who gave me an opportunity when nobody else would, to always give credit. And I'm going to give credit to Caleb because what you just talked about, it's not just know where to go in the rule book or the mechanics book. Caleb is now leading a session on Tuesday nights with our guys. And I stuck my head in the other night, and sure enough, it was talking about that. What happens when Johnny ain't where he's supposed to be, and Joey got to adjust? So it's big. It's a big deal, but it goes in the growth. So we got to stick a pin in this podcast, but with this topic, I want to finish this topic on something that I think is important that we're going to get into down the road. Again, I want to remind everyone, basketball season's in full bore. High school basketball season be coming into the playoffs. We're going to be bringing on high school officials. We're going to be bringing on as guests high school administrators as we get into each sport, athletic directors. I'll have some commissioners that come on. And again, this is not to spotlight any or be critical. This is to educate the officials at every level. We'll have travel ball supervisors come in and speak to some things that maybe they don't see when they schedule these guys 150 games in a week, what it's doing to their college career. Look, we're here I thank God for this podcast, but I do want to finish this episode with this question back to the character and skill set. Chris, in locker room, I have it saying all the time, what you do when nobody else is looking is what people see when everybody's watching. Being that I was an umpire and I made some mistakes out there, I did some things wrong. And it's one reason why I think the good Lord has put this thing together. What you do when nobody else is looking is what people see when everybody's watching. If we were to break that down, we could spend a whole podcast on it, and we probably will. But let's relegate it right now to the perfect official and why am I not getting the schedule I want? It could be totally what people are seeing you do off the field. So let's hit that, guys, with a thought, and we'll carry that over into some later segments because I think that's a whole segment topic in itself. But as it relates to the official schedule, hit that for me before we wrap up. Segment 1, Game Day Travelcast. Let's start with Chris.
Am I trustworthy? What I'm showing off the field that I'm not trustworthy is what everybody see when I'm in that locker room. And if my crew can't trust me, the supervisor can't trust me. And that's why, even though I can go out here and I can get these calls right, but off the field, I'm showing truly you can't trust me.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for putting this together. This doesn't happen without you leading it this way. So thank you so much. I want to go back to work on yourself. Work hard, grind away, get better, get feedback so that you can get better, and then 2, understand that your assigner is a human who may be working with an incomplete data set, may not know everything about you, may not know all your hopes and dreams. Talk to that person. Get off get off the spreadsheet. Stop being a name on the spreadsheet. Be a face that they know. Talk to them. Talk to them about your availability. Talk to them about your hopes and dreams. Connect. They're people, man. Just like people on your crew are people. Just like schools that you work for, teams that you work for. This is a people business, man. So make sure you understand the person that your assigner is and make sure that they understand who you are too.
That's great. Here on Game Day Travelcast, we always ask the question, what are you doing when you're traveling to games? Why not tune in to the one and only, first and only Travelcast for officials of all levels, of all sports, where we talk about the whole official, not just the game, not just the calls, but the travel, the family, the issues, things that maybe you never had a place where you could come and open up and grow. So follow us.
Dave, I want to jump in here and do one thing
Yes,
I've totally
yes.
forgotten. I cannot. Charles McElroy.
Mm.
Charles McElroy. It's wasn't for him, I wouldn't be in college baseball.
Yeah.
So,
and
I
you
must
mentioned
acknowledge that Charles McElroy.
you mentioned his name, and now I got a list over here. It's a mile long. Caleb's got a list, so we're gonna get around to thanking. I think we'll thank everyone who's helped make us who we are. And I thank God for this podcast. It's been a vision. It's something He planted in me 2.5, 3 years ago, and I just had to wait for the right timing. And here it is. We're gonna feed you. We're gonna feed you from the heart. We're gonna feed you from the soul, and share us with friends. I know, you can only listen to so much ESPN and CNN and Fox and that kind of stuff. Why don't you listen to something that feeds who you are as an official? And we will talk about, I promise you, and we'll have an expert in every field that you can think of if you're an official on Game Day Travelcast. And so share us and watch us on all your podcast outlets, wherever you get your podcasts, Facebook and YouTube. So for segment 1 of Game Day Travelcast, I want to thank Caleb. I want to thank Chris. And guys, be safe out there as you're traveling. Whether you're flying, whether your flight's delayed, you got gas in your car, you're halfway on your trip and you forgot something. Tune in to Game Day Travelcast and let us help you along the ride.